Hey everybody. I want to put this on Twitter real quick, so give me a second. No notice on this one, and I didn't post anything on Twitter, so I just give me a minute to get started here. Welcome everybody. Hello everybody. Hello everybody. Sorry about that echo. All right. So I know I had kind of a unannounced hiatus, and well, not really unannounced. I told you guys that it would happen. So thank you for um, for your interest in the channel and things like that. And I do appreciate everybody's viewership. And since I know that people tend to watch this channel, and we're oftentimes kind of concerned for one another, I just wanted to let you guys know it wasn't my intention to stay offline excessively. So what I try to do is at least to hint to people that I'm all right and that everything's going all right without revealing too much about what I'm doing when I don't want to or can't. I'll try to put a couple things on Twitter here and there. So I kind of encourage people to follow my Twitter. That way, you know that if anything happens to this channel, Twitter is one of the main methods that I use to tell people, even if you have no other interest in it or you only casually subscribe, it's a good way to make sure that you're tuned in case something happens to me or my channel. It's one of the main ways that I communicate to people that you have to go to one channel or the other in case something gets shut down. And so it hasn't entirely been unintentional, my staying offline. Number one, I kind of needed to rest a little bit. And so I'm not going to get excessively into why or where or anything else like that right now. And I want to talk about something I've discussed oftentimes since the beginning of my material, what compelled me, I think, to especially reach across the aisle to a lot of different people. I've been talking oftentimes about a peace treaty that I personally wanted to bring to as many people as I could who may be different than me or questioning my integrity, or may question my values, or may question what my intentions are and what my motivations are. So I try to ensure that as many people understood clearly, based on the way that I approached my material, the way I did it publicly, that I am absolutely one of the safest human beings alive. Why did I do that? Because I've been surrounded oftentimes by people that can look safe but are very dangerous and get away with it. And I started to identify some of those parties. And that put me in a more dangerous situation temporarily because I hadn't learned. I guess what you could say is I call it the art of peace. But I take my strategy from Sun Tzu, who was obviously into the art of war, which is to say that I oftentimes, when I was challenged with knowing what I was surrounded by, I just went further in. I went deeper, deeper, deeper in. Sometimes without even knowing it. Sometimes I would just do it because I was being directed to. And then I would find myself in some pretty challenging situations that were nearly like situations that required like exorcisms. That's the only way that I can explain it to you guys. I'm a very rational person. I'm a very sane person, and I approach things very scientifically, especially when it comes to energy. And as I learned more, I started to understand like why things like quote MK Ultra exist, why psychotronic weapons exist. They're so nearly undetectable. They operate on the human brain on levels that most people can't detect. They operate on these frequencies, like for example, they often use audio patterns that run between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz that operate on very subtle ways on the human brain. It's very consistent with psychotronic generators, and they can increasingly blend these things in as quote normal activities or just subtly obnoxious activities, like for example a person with a stereo that's just a little bit too loud, which is really operating a sonic range to create a signal source that can basically torture people, that can resonate an old person's body, for example, maybe an elderly person that's in an elderly home. Some of these people are so sadistic that for fun, they will literally just pull up to one of these buildings filled with old people, knowing that they're going to experience pain inside the building by vibrating their bodies out of resonance with their stereos, by literally creating the signal source that and tunes into the rebar within the building, vibrates the floor within these elderly people's homes who can't really change where they're going, their mobility or anything. So that's just one example, guys. That's elderly people, okay, that I'm just trying to explain to you when I'm trying to establish peace treaties with people and let you know what I'm about. That's just one of the things that I've discovered that happens. That's a method to basically take the 70% water content of the body of the individual, which when you're elderly is increasingly in a state of your perceived decay, which is to say that you're not as strong as you used to be. If you're 90, you're probably not as strong as when you were 30. And so you have less water in your body relative to the rest of what's left. So resonating that water off tune can create cancers, ailments, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer, in ways that most people will attribute simply to that person's age, when it's actually being artificially accelerated. Because some people just think that once you get past a certain age, there's a certain party that was very popular in the 30s and 40s that kind of spread from Europe over to here and other places. Sometimes people don't see them. They were really into this idea that the elderly were not as valuable, that they kind of were worthy of extermination. So I'm just explaining to you folks that, not trying to get dark on you here, but what I'm explaining to you is that when you look at me, I hope you understand that I approached all my material the way that I did for the longest time because I wanted to ensure that any single person that took me in on any level would know how safe I am, would understand that I put myself at risk and under the scrutiny of the military, of the FBI, of all these different groups, specifically because I understood the danger of where my origins were. I understood what my grandfather was on my mother's side. I know what he did. I know how he did it. I've tried to report it. No one's going to do anything. FBI has made it very clear they don't care. Fine. I've done what I can there, guys. So all I've tried to do now is just to try to live my life and to just move on without forgetting that this problem still needs to be fought. And somebody has to take it on, and I don't know who's going to, because I hold on to information that almost nobody seems to be willing to discuss or has the personal inclination or knowledge to discuss. Like, if you know, you don't talk. And if you talk, you don't know. That's it 99.9% of the time, except in this case, he's talking and he knows. And beyond that, I made sure that when I realized that certain parties that are at the certain level don't care, the ones that are there to enforce things just don't care, I said, well, fine. I'm not going to let these people make me look like them. I'm going to distinguish myself. I'm going to make sure that as many parties have access to me. I called it full metal disclosure. I gave them an open window, an open access to my life, my world, my entire existence. I let them follow me, watch me, record me, everything they wanted to without complaining excessively. Of course, I didn't like it. But after a while, I said, fuck it. This is Sun Tzu. If we're going to save people, if we're going to do the great work, I have to open myself up completely to these people to let them know that I'm not a monster. I don't come from the same types of people that are so good at manipulating people by making them look so legitimate and so caring on the surface. But see, you must always know with some of those people that there's something that's a little bit inhuman about them. There's something that's lacking in their concern, or they don't really seem all that concerned about victims of these things, or they seem way too quick to dismiss it. And you have to ask yourself why. So this is why, folks, that, when Mr. President Trump took office back in 2000, he won the election and everything like that. And in 2017, he took over and signed in the executive order. Sorry, 2016, he took over, signed the executive order, and for ending human trafficking. That really touched me, because I thought, even if it was just a mere surface level gesture, it gave me personally a template through which I thought I could operate from. So from that level, even if it was an insincere act, which I don't think it was, even if it were, though, I thank him for the structure. And I thank the people who considered that for the structure through which I developed my entire strategy going forward into this day. Do we agree on that? Do you have it in your heart to end that with me? To get past whatever you got going on? Look, I may not have the power to do everything, but I'm just asking that you see the sincerity in my heart and to understand the considerable things that I did facing disinformation, facing cults that pretend to like you, and constantly gaslight your perception. I've had to deal with all of this. Ever since I tried to speak out, I've basically had crisis actors, mafia, and some insiders at the FBI that just refuse to accept my information, but are all too willing to send frauds and fakes into my life to constantly gaslight my ability to perceive reality. And then go, what's wrong with that guy? Well, shit, you guys. I have had more actors in my life than you can possibly imagine. Very few real people enter my life. And then my best solution is to basically convince this actor that they're on the wrong mission, and that being against me really is supporting human traffickers. When you do negative things to me, you're supporting human trafficking. When you attack me, you're supporting human trafficking. I don't give a shit what you think. You may have challenges with my personality. You may not like the way I communicate. You may not like the way I have, some stringent, I guess you could say, policies on the way I conduct my channel. But let me explain something to you. I've been through way too many bullshit artists. And they all wasted my time trying to accomplish something very, important. And every single time it was an effort to chip away at the perception of others towards me and how legitimate I was, how good I was, all designed to constantly always set me up a little bit to be my friend or to gain my trust, and then always rug sweep this, and then suddenly turn on me and say well, don't support him. He's bad. He doesn't take in this information. He doesn't like that person. He won't listen to so and so. He won't let that person get talked about on his channel. Fuck off. Guys, this is so petty. Since I came from a family of petty grooves, little growers, Some petty thinkers, not all of them. I had to review some of this information last night, the origins of what I came from, and it just reminded me, guys, that I can't get distracted. I don't want to stay anchored in that ugly reality that I can't be distracted either. No one's fighting it, you guys. And as I keep thinking about wanting to have a family of my own, and sometimes when you can maybe sense it's on that it's possible, the reality sinks in of what's waiting out there. Am I done? Can I afford to stop? Can I do both? If I do, who's going to help? Because, guys, my my internet protocol environment, my data environment situation doesn't seem to change no matter where I go. There's always something going on with the rigging of my data. Not anyone's fault. I don't attribute blame to anyone, except for the labs that I know are behind it. And that's beyond the control of any factors of anyone around me in any given situation, and oftentimes. And, it's becoming increasingly more disturbing to me that these types of things can happen right in the center of places where you would expect there to be the most scrutiny, where the most people from the military can witness it. And I'm thinking to myself, here's all I'm going to say to you guys. If you still have some differences with me out there, anybody, look me in the eye. Have the balls to do that sometime. Get my attention someplace out there and just look me in the eye and tell me I'm bullshit. Or try to look, ask yourself when you look me in the eye, is this man bullshit? Because you can't. You can't say that to yourself without lying to yourself. I tell the truth. My information is about as solid as it gets. And I've been spun in more directions than I can tell you. So here's the thing, guys. I don't trust easily. I concede to that. There's a reason why. It's become way too important for me personally because I can't just trust my own intuition any longer because there's such a thing as psychotronic generators and psychotronic weapons that are on US soil right now being used in mass. And I'm one of the few people who understands it. And I can't seem to get others who do kind of get it to understand sometimes that it's happening to them, that it's causing polarities in their thinking. Because at what point are you just the person that's just waving that wand to make it seem like, well, I'm right and you're wrong? No, sometimes I'm just trying to explain to a person that you're under the influence of a psychotronic weapon right now and you just don't know it. Yet I don't want to tell that person, or I don't want to say that to those people, or I don't want to explain it to them excessively because then I'm going to make them think about it. And I don't want them to exist in that world. So it's this delicate balance I'm having right now, folks, because I'm aware that this shit's happening all across the United States, and I know who's doing it. I know what their exploits are. I know what their intentions are. They've already hijacked the minds of quite a number of our people that are vital to our infrastructure with psychotronic weapons, guys. You don't have people changing their behaviors this radically that want to be a different gender, that feel suddenly like they're non-binary and don't know what their she, her, his, who, how, where is. It's not normal. And I'm not being critical of people's decisions, okay? I come from about as accepting in a liberal background as you can possibly imagine. Too much. So let me explain something to you here, folks. Splash. You're under the influence of psychotronic generators and weapons in the United States en masse. Don't get scared and don't panic, but understand it. If it kind of does a flicker, you don't have a migraine headache. Don't go to the doctor and get a bunch of fucking pills for it. It's electrical. It's magnetic. It's not a headache. Maybe you got a headache. I don't know. But some of you don't. And then you go and get a bunch of pills and it makes you feel like shit. Then they give you more pills that makes you feel even more like shit. When you're actually just being pinged with a psychotronic generator. Because maybe you looked up something on the internet and they were like, yeah, we don't want you investigating those things. Zap, 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 zap. Starts to come in through the Wi-Fi router. Wi-Fi router just starts to just create a boom, 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 boom. There's two radios in there. One's 2.4 gigahertz, the other's 5 gigahertz. Maybe you're only using one. It's easy enough to provision the other radio to modulate differently than Wi-Fi. Operate on a separate channel, open it up, and just go off, on, off, on, off, on. Then you don't think normal. Simple as that. Psychotronic generator as cheap as it gets. Backdoor hack into a Wi-Fi router. Not quite a psychotronic generator, but not the same thing. But it'll affect your behavior. If you're on the internet looking up something 1 minute, that feeling that you get will tell you that maybe you don't want to look it up. So maybe you're investigating the CGI and the CF that stole kids down in Haiti. And the Queen says, I don't want you looking into that. Laura Selsby's my friend. Wi-Fi router. Enters into the local area network. Ethernet over power. Suddenly the copper wiring in a few different rooms is lighted up like a Christmas tree. It's become an antenna. You have a big square copper wiring all around you that's going off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on. The microwave is now your room. The oven is transitioned from the router to your room. Some microwave ovens actually use the Wi-Fi frequency and just bounce around inside the box. So if you take the power inside a person's room that's supplying it to each power outlet, and you start to transmit signal through it in the in the 2.4 gigahertz range, like it's just an antenna, because copper is conductive and will transmit radio frequency, then yeah, you can just off on it and surround somebody with that signal, and then they don't want to look those things up anymore. So again, guys, I didn't say this to go negative this morning, and this didn't want to be my introduction back into you. I'm saying this because what Trump did 4 years ago inspired me to reach across the aisle to as many different people and say, you know something, I'm going to take risks with people. I think even if the person is inclined to hate me or disinform on me or say bad things about me or even help with some of these other people that do some of these negative actions, that if I just get near them or they understand me and they can look me eye to eye, that they'll know I'm a real human being, that I care. And if that other person is good and has a similar intentions, that they won't be inclined to be negative to me after that, and that I'm okay. I'm okay taking those risks. And it's worked out sometimes. And that's why I try not to talk about it excessively, because I go into a lot of situations where I'm kind of conscious and aware that maybe something negative's happening. You know, that's not so much recently, guys, but in the past. And then I learned that, yeah, at first I could tell I was being lied to and I was being effed with. But then I thought, you know, if this person, they understand me after a while, they'll get it. They won't want to do that to me. And that's kind of what happened. In some situations, one person still hates me and the other person changed their mind, right? And I'm like, okay, well, great. But at least that's different than the way it was before. See, I had two people that hated me before I went into that situation. In either case, I was going to be harmed. So at least in now, there's in some situations one person that steps away going, Gabe's a good person, and I think he's actually fighting this. He might be one of those few people that's not just saying it to sound good on the internet. But at some point, I started to understand that the real battle is metaphysical and that it's spiritual. And so, at what point do you begin to make your transition from abandoning these things excessively that you fight face on, like ramming your head against a brick wall, and start to focus on the prayer, the meditation, and other things that manifest a better reality? When do you just decide that I can't do this anymore? I can't be this way. I can't feel like I'm this angry and this upset all the time. I can't handle it. It's poisoning my heart. And then I started to learn to change the energy in certain areas, in some very, very dark places where horrible things had happened. And I was conscious and aware that horrible things were happening. And bearing witness just to the signs of it alone was harming me inside, emotionally, to the point where that was the psychotronic weapon in my case. The devices no longer worked, the electromagnetic things and the tasing. I was being x-rayed in one of these places for a few months. X-rayed, guys. You could hear the x-ray machine go like several times in a row in one of these budget properties owned by Robert Bigelow. Very popular in our space program, guys. Is it a wonder why maybe sometimes I may not trust everything that's like all super friendly with the space program? If you've been tased by people that are kind of openly manipulating all the psychic research, which is tied to me, but I don't get compensated for, I just get used. I don't get compensated for psychic research. I just get used. Because, my brother worked at SAIC, and I guess SAIC got access to me through my brother, is my guess. And so pretty much everywhere I go, SAIC pretty much will fuck with me, as far as I can tell, or has the ability to. I've been doing material on them since 2016. And there's no reason for me to believe that if I'm in the belly of the beast of them, that they would leave me alone. And that's all right. I don't let it bother me excessively, but I'm not an idiot. They're gonna, if they're that close to me, and they have been, and I have a brother that worked there, and they've got every single record connected to him for the rest of his life, then they have every record connected to me for the rest of my life. They were involved with the Stargate project and everything to do with psychic research. All my abilities effectively within this realm were managed at the 90% of all that research managed by the lab that my own brother worked at. But I'm given none of these considerations within the FBI or government in any official way to say that that's an actual legitimate thing that may cause them to treat me unfairly and not compensate me for research done on me without my consent or permission. Or I'm left to be a slave. I'm left to be a person that can't, you want to know how emasculating this shit is? I just want to be a dad right now, god damn it. And these motherfuckers can prevent me from having a goddamn income of my own. And I have to ask and beg. And I'm a man. And I got a whole family that's just sitting around going, I don't know. What happened, Gabe? allowed to have families. They're all allowed. With flying colors. Privileges, houses, good jobs, security, comfort, wellness, all of it. None of them are fighting human trafficking. I am. So I'm provided no security, no permanent home, no ability to know if I can trust anything in any meaningful way. While the government sits back and watches. Because this lab practically is them. They are our infrastructure. They are our energy. They are the information flow in America. And no one will acknowledge it, so my rights can be stripped from me, and I can be prevented from even earning the most basic of income to support a child, which I want desperately right now. I've never felt more inspired to be a father than I am right now. I want this family to acknowledge what was done. You will compensate me. I just want to be a father. You will leave me the fuck alone and give me what I am owed for what you have done. Do you understand? And let me tell you something. When I do become a father, and when I do have a child, you will not have access to it. Give up. Stop stalling me because you're not going to win. Those of you involved with James J. Pettigrew's network, you will have your assets seized. I am manifesting this. If you didn't, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. But if you did, that's what's going to happen to you. You didn't earn that shit. All those Silva wines up there at the old Hilltop Winery, where you're hinting at young girls on those wine label bottles. What the fuck? So that's what I'm manifesting now. This is the treaty. We are ending human trafficking. End of story. You're either on board or you're not. I'm saying that to this powerful, this very powerful, this very rich family. By the time I'm done, everyone's going to know what your assets are, how vast they are, how far they go. From Washington State all the way out to Hawaii, whatever the fuck, Florida. Boca Raton, all your businesses out there. Oh man, how many businesses did you guys launder through Infragard in Washington State? And all your media interests. I got everything. So I'm backing you into a corner to make sure you understand. You will not continue to block my access to the resources that I would require to raise a family. I should not have to beg for a fucking thing. I have put in too much work. And I would really appreciate it if those on the sidelines would just make that happen, because this family will not. They will fight until the bitter end, because this is everything. This is the entire infrastructure of power, the control of the human mind. Top down, from the minute you're born to the minute you're perceived death. You've had enough of my energy. I've been getting these little shocks since I was a little kid. Did that happen, Gabe? Bump. I'm sorry. I come from some pretty evil people, but I am not evil. There's people that are close to me, and God bless you, because I really appreciate the nice things you say to me, but they kind of believe that I was sort of like born into the family, that I existed somehow before that, and I chose to be born into them so that I could solve this problem. That you choose your vessel, and that's what I do. I always go right to the center. But that doesn't make me what someone else is. And I don't deserve to be marked with that distrust after all the work that I've done. I don't deserve to be denied access to income after all the work I've done. I don't deserve to have to feel the slightest bit emasculated right now when I just want to make a child. So if you have a single ounce of a heart inside you, stop blocking my access to things that I'm entitled to, that I've earned, or that was granted or given to me. Remove all your legal arguments, all your legal binding things immediately. And stop pretending that you have any type of ownership over me. Stop pretending that you have any entitlement over discussing my wellness or my ability to think clearly. You are deranged, power family. Only deranged people would let that kind of abuse go on for that long to that many people and act like nothing happened. And you've got a lot to explain, and you know it. You're attacking me or pretending something's wrong with me will no longer work. Remember that. You're over. It's done. You're through. And here's the thing. If you won't just do it because it's what's right, do it to save face. Because if I bring a child into this world and everybody discovers what you're doing to prevent that and what you did to prevent it, and moreover, what you're going to be doing to cause it harm, which I will never fucking allow. If you think you've seen the worst of me so far, you wait till then. I will never stop. So let me make sure I'm clear on this. I'm not even going to let that happen. You better back away. And you better let me have access to what's mine. And you better stop effing with me and people that I care about and that I love. You're going to back away from my friends. You're going to stop harassing them. You're going to stop harassing them at their jobs. You're going to stop causing them these subtle gaslighting technical issues in the background that I know you're doing to all of them. You're going to admit to what you did by conning them into crowdsource the truth, using CGI masking to malign their reputations and make them look like you. And you're going to find a way to do all this cleverly. Oh yeah, I'm getting real with you motherfuckers. I know what you are, and I know where all your origins are. There's nothing good about you, good man. All you bullshit artists from the wireless industry that like to stack up in there. Yeah, guys, I know who they are. A bunch of those commentators that showed up there regularly, some now are going, I don't like him anymore. Bullshit. They're all just fucking, this lucha libre. You're the ones that have my money. You're the ones that have all my resources that I need now to raise a family. So I'm giving you one last shot over the bow. You better recognize who I am and what I am, and what I represent and who I represent. Because certain people aren't going to be in control of shit any longer, and that's only going to leave one person. Remember that. So you only got so much time to keep holding me back from what's mine and what's owed me. And beyond that, what I'm going to be freeing up for everyone else. That's what's being held up, folks. It's for you, not for me. If you knew how much land and resources were being held up, your jaws would drop. All harvested with artificial intelligence algorithms, aliases, money laundering vehicles that are being killed off with a certain illness right now. Fake people, all just paper entities being deleted and then blamed on an illness that never existed. Through a hospital chain connected to a steel factory, connected to a certain Nazi family, and nobody seems to give a shit. Whatever. I could sit there and deliver it all right to your fucking front doors, FBI. I get it. Christ, guys, they could not. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it right now. If you had any idea how many federal agencies could just walk right up to me right now and go, "Hi, Gabe, can we have a meeting?" I couldn't do it. You know why? It leads to too many things. There's so much corruption at this point. So many people taking payoffs. So many people with unnecessary roles that are just taking from you and giving to each other. That's how much this unravels. That all those people just can't get over their personal greed to end human trafficking. They would just rather continue their disinformation campaigns, tasing, psychotronic weapons, making a little bit of extra money on the side by having, targets. Whatever. God bless the people that have helped me, guys. So I want you guys to know, especially the ones more recently, you really touched my heart. I want to be all negative here. I'm doing this right now because I want those people to know that by helping me, they're going to be ultimately protected. Yeah, I go through challenges, folks, but let me explain something to you. I am one of the safest people on this planet. I subjected myself to that much scrutiny. You couldn't ask for a better background check. I put myself in front of military offices, FBI offices. I get it, guys. The FBI is kind of worthless. What good does that do? Touche. But that's why I made sure it was a military office right next to the FBI and that I went and talked to them too. And I do trust, guys. Maybe you think that that's ill-advised, but I knew so many vets that I thought were the most solid people. They were my friends and they were vets. They were my friends first. I got to know them as people, just their name. No military service or anything else. I just knew them by their name and their integrity and their honesty and their decency. Their willingness to help me when I needed it and my desire to help them when they needed it. We were like brothers and sisters. We helped each other and we care about each other, I think, to this day, many of us. We just can't be together. And that breaks my heart. I really love my friends. They mean everything to me. And that's what this is about too. My friends are my family. I believe at my core that some of them are actually even on a level that I don't understand entirely yet, my DNA. I think that they're literally my tribe. I think we might have been born here under some other strange circumstance. And that we just wound up sometimes at the same place at the same time as coworkers. But we were actually brothers and sisters. Sometimes placed even in roles where we weren't supposed to like each other, but we did. Or we were inclined, or somebody told us to hate each other, and then we said, I don't hate that person. I love them. I see their humanity. So I see yours. Will you see mine? Will you see what's important for me to do right now? And will you let me do it without having to demand, without having to stomp my feet? I won't keep asking. Especially because I know some of you are so spineless that you're running around letting people take shit left and right that don't deserve it. You're giving things away to people that don't deserve it and denying access to people that do. If a person's willing to traffic children, they're given all the resources in the world. If you fight it, you're fucked with. I want to understand why we exist in the United States of America where that happens. That's the treaty. That's the peace treaty. Simple as that. So all I ever ask guys is if, you change your mind about me or just think I'm a dick suddenly, or, that before you decide to go nuclear on my ass and try to destroy me reputationally or talk shit about me to everybody, maybe consider what's really on the plate here. Maybe consider what I'm really doing before you take it too fucking personal. And so that's all that was going on sometimes, guys, lately. If I had some disagreements with folks, I was just like, really? You're going to let an interpersonal thing that's really more about ego affect your judgment in such a way where you're going to let people attack me on these types of premises of just talking shit about me? When you know what I do in earnest, I wouldn't have this much material if I wasn't this honest. This honest. This. My gut tells me that the closed captions will probably change that to something else. Shit like that happens all the time. That's all, guys. If you're going to go there, just do me a favor. Just remember that. Remember what we're really fighting here. Remember what I'm really doing. Yeah, I do all these things involving energetics and ascension, and that's what I'm focused on right now. Yes. But remember, I have hours and volumes of material that I've dedicated years to that took a lot of personal sweat equity that I personally suffered a great deal in the process of learning. And in order to get close to those people, I had to put myself next to dangerous people in dangerous environments that affected my health, my wellness. So I've experienced these systems. I know what they are. I've had it happen to me aggressively in environments where people looked me in the eye and basically told me, I am doing this to you. How does it feel, Gabe? How come it's only happening to you and no one else? And then looking me right in the eye and gaslighting me. And then having the awareness sometimes that these are people that I've known since I was a baby. Looking me demonically in the eye like a completely different human being and going, how come it's only happening to you? Can you imagine that? People like that just wanting you dead? It does gaslight your perception of reality. I'll admit it. But don't call a person paranoid because they've been through it. It makes you cautious. It makes it to where you take a lot of different things into consideration when you're evaluating a person's behavior. So it's not paranoia. It means that you understand the human brain at a level that very few people do, oftentimes, to where you understand intrinsically how a system that's external from them can change their behavior. And having that awareness sometimes, yeah, it's a little bit of a mind virus. It's hard to sometimes get around in the world understanding things about the way people's brains work that they themselves don't understand. Because then you're trying to confront the person sometimes with something that their brain is telling them is not happening and that you're a jerk for telling them. And so all I can do is try to appeal sometimes back into their heart and say, like, do you still know who I am? Please look at me and know what I am. Know what I'm about. And just take that into your heart and let that be what motivates you one way or the other instead of just you get it? This isn't for anybody in particular, you guys. It's because I've been confronted with this. I think the last couple months, I've had some folks kind of do this whole thing where they get all huffy with me and say, well, and I kind of go, all right, look, guys, if you don't like the channel, that's okay. If you don't like the way I conduct the channel, that's cool. That's your thing. And I don't take that personal. And people can come and go as they please. I'm not here for the subscribership. I say oftentimes I really just look for that very small number of quality people that I know I can trust and will help me as much as I want to help them, and that will establish some tribe or family together in whatever way we're capable with what we have left, that we'll just try to put the pieces together and build from there. And so it's been a challenge for me because the processing of what happened to me and having to look around at people that I trusted so much and understand that I can't trust them now. Some I can't trust because I never should have. And they were just kind of like making it known to me who they really are and what they're really about. That was kind of what was going on, mostly about in that span about 2 years ago. I was kind of offline nearly about several months, almost a year. I think it was about a 10-month window or so where I didn't post any material on YouTube. I'd basically been threatened with homelessness if I did. Threats that subtly continue to this day. It's strange, guys. I'm being told like not to discuss these issues and being threatened with that by people that would not even turn in the person that I'm talking about with my material. Do you understand that? The same parents that said you're not allowed to post anything on YouTube if you're within our home, after I'd been kind of artificially placed in an economic condition to have to be there. That basically makes it to where then it's like the enforcer treating me like I'm a 5-year-old, saying you're not allowed to, post anything. And if you do, this will be what happens. Those same people that made that rule also never turned in a man that they had information on. They were conscious and aware was a serial child molester and had his address. Social security number, address, location, wife's name, where they were in Mexico, all of it. Gabe, I've got the time to tell, the local police department that something's wrong with you for investigating this. That means that you're mentally imbalanced for investigating this activity. But I could not use those same resources that I did that to you with, Gabriel. I could never use that same amount of time and resources to go down to a police station or an FBI office and say, you guys, my father, James J. Pettigrew, is a serial child abuser and could have been involved with a global human trafficking ring. Now, she never felt compelled to do that, guys, but she had lots of time to drive around various places in Oregon, Clackamas County, and say something was wrong with me for mentioning that something's wrong with her for not reporting that. This is our system, ladies and gentlemen, in the United States of America. They can be allowed to do that, tolerate that. America tolerates that. Meanwhile, I'm here, a healthy man, a well man, a decent man who just wants to earn a basic living so I can have a baby right now. That's all I want to do. You know that? It's so fucked up. And people like that are thriving. People like that are being rewarded. People like that are allowed to walk freely, while people like me are harassed indefinitely and provided no witness relocation, no fucking protections from this anywhere I go. While this cold, brutal, ruthless fucking family sits back and goes, I don't know. Oh, you want to have a baby? Fuck you, Gabe. I'm going to take your money. Take it, take it, take it, take it. Fuck you. Give up. I've got all of James's house's property records, King County assessors. You like using Hatfield and Japanese? Huh, Penny? Yeah. A pedophile used to own the house, gets sold to some Asian owners that happen to have the translation to field. I get it. It's clever. It's clever. Look up all those property records connected to James J. Pettigrew and Martha C. Hatfield, guys. King County assessors, start doing those researches. I know you won't, FBI, because you don't give a shit about human trafficking, but you may want to know why they all are so proud of it being called the Love Family Neighborhood. Why Frank Love Elementary is behind the Cult's house, where all these Asian kids are just flowing in and out of there. But you don't give a shit. Fine. I just thought you guys might want to know those houses that I reported from out there. Yeah. The lady that sold those houses, despite the fact that that's where James abused lots of kids, and I even witnessed some of the abuse, she never felt compelled to deliver a single cent of that money to one of the victims of James Pettigrew. She kept it for herself and brags kind of like, it's mine. It's my money. It's my money. Is it your money? Is it your money? Is it really your money? Is that your money, bitch? Hey, is it? James J. Pettigrew molested how many fucking kids in that house? Is that your money, bitch? I know one person you can give it to. It ain't even me. I ain't going to say their name. You know who they are. Did you give her anything? Huh? I'm going to embarrass the fuck out of you, family. Which family I'm talking about? I don't know. You guess. The family. They call themselves the family. The family? I want to have my own family. Back the fuck away. Relinquish what is mine. Step away. Don't come near me. You're not entitled to be around any offspring. I'm making that clear right now. If I ever have a child, I don't want you anywhere near them. Don't send your goons. Don't send your cults. And they're going to be too fucking smart for you anyways. You send your biggest thug, this kid will kick its ass. And outwit it. Don't even try. Nothing weak's coming from me, I'll tell you that. Nothing weak. You made a huge mistake doing what you did to me. So close to me. Because I know everything about you now. Everything that nobody else is willing to do something about, I am. So, you know, it's fine. You got a lot of people in your life who don't know what you really are. That's fine. But to the ones that now know what you really are, they're going to look like assholes for standing next to you and being all so supportive when they really know what you're really doing and what you really are. What you're really hiding, what you really did. And those of you who think that, you know, you can just stand by a woman like that who did some fucked up shit like that, well, you're kind of sharing that money with her. I guess it's just another Rudine L. Whitman production. Right, guys? Clever, right? You love your puns. You're so punny. Anyways. All right, folks. That's my update. Let's focus on the metaphysical, shall we? I will be back soon with something a little bit more uplifting, I promise you. But this was a nothing I think that you should find bad. This is basically me trying to assert something right now to make sure certain people understand clearly where I stand on a lot of things. I'm tired of the interference. And, you know, if I got to do another shot over the bow, I'll do it. But don't forget where I'm at. And those of you who know, you just remember all the different places I have access to now to talk, that'll listen. Or not. But the point is, I will be talking. And some listening is going to be happening. All right. Okay, folks. So remember, it's a spiritual battle. So meditate. Focus on what you want to manifest, because I am. And that's part of why I'm doing this. Not to go negative. It's an assertion. I want everybody to understand that we're going to win. That these people will not be able to control us. So thank you for your support, folks. If you can, please contribute. I'd appreciate it. trying to do some things now. So yeah, anything will help. So all right, folks, thank you. Appreciate your support. Have a good day.